All right, welcome back. We continue our discussion focusing on the Pietermaritzburg High Court decision to declare the results of the 8th provincial elective conference in KwaZulu-Natal held in 2015 unlawful and void. The case was brought by ANC Councillor Lawrence Dube and 4 others in May last year. They were unhappy with the outcome of the elective conference. So after yesterday's ruling, the ANC's KZN provincial or PEC said it considers approaching the Supreme Court of Appeal. We continue to have our conversation with Sihle Zikalala, who is or still considers himself the ANC KwaZulu-Natal chairperson. Thank you again for staying with us. But I must say, after asking viewers to write in and speak to us, many of them do not consider you the chairperson anymore, including your opposition, like the EFF. I know that there was a big debate over Twitter yesterday that was put out by Dalian Mpofu, saying that the best thing for you to do is to give up your chair and no longer be the chairperson because the court has ruled that. I mean, I have to ask you that question again. How are you remaining in this position when people don't necessarily see you as the chairperson?
There is a first thing that you do not say is that if I'm no longer a chairperson, it means that I'm reinstated maybe as the provincial secretary of the ANC, a position I held before that provincial conference. So I think the people are just raising issues for the sake of just raising argument. Because if they were consistent, they would have said, no, I is now a provincial secretary. But having said that, on a lighter note, the PEC remains in office because it is taking up the matter and it is appealing. And once you appeal, normally, unless rule otherwise, you remain, and the decision of the court is not affected up until the review process is finalized. But for us, it's not to remain in the office. The PEC will be happy to have a conference at any time. At a principal level, the PEC is of a view that we will allow a precedent where structures of the ANC will be rendered with no powers, whilst they are constitutional structures. If you say the provincial executive committee can convene a provincial conference, it will be a problem because that will mean that its executive structure of the ANC does not enjoy the authority it should according to the ANC constitution. Now, it's not a question of whether the PEC is in the office or not. In fact, one of the arguments that is arising within the PEC is whether we should not prepare for a provincial conference while at the same time appealing this decision. Because there is nothing wrong to have a conference in the ANC. We have always been in the ANC, and we know that the ANC is steeped in the culture and the tradition. In fact, it's the principle of consultation and mandate. For all leaders of the ANC, they must always seek the mandate from branches and membership of the ANC. When necessary, decisions, crucial decisions, must involve membership and the structures of the ANC. And even in this regard, there will be a consultation with the branches of the African National Congress on what needs to happen.
All right.
So the PEC is going to appeal on that basis so that this matter is not a precedent that may affect any other structure of the ANC going forward. But when it comes to the political leadership, whether we want to convene a conference or not, I will say with no hesitation that the current PEC is of a view that if the national rule that there must be a conference, we will not have a problem with that. We will just simply prepare for the conference.
There is a bigger question here at the moment because we are months away. I mean, we're sitting now in September. The elective conference is coming up in December. And KwaZulu-Natal is in shambles. And this holds a massive vote. And of course, there are, you know, there's the talk of the factions that are supporting Cyril Ramaphosa, the other factions that are supporting Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma to take over as the ANC president. What is this going to do to the national conference? I mean, could this be that move that sees the national conference being delayed?
To us as the PEC, we don't believe that this should affect the national conference. The national conference of the ANC will have to go ahead. Firstly, if the appeal process will require that the PEC does not participate, it will be well and fine. And there will be nothing wrong with that. There are branches of the ANC. Branches of the ANC have already been audited. They are ready to convene the branch general meetings, select delegates, and participate at a national conference. Even PEC members comes from branches. Even themselves, they can be branch delegates if they are chosen by their respective branches to attend a national conference. So the status of the PEC will be discussed as we go forward, and I don't believe that this will have any bearing and the effect to the national conference. In fact, we must all ensure that we protect the legitimacy of the national conference of the ANC. Yeah. That's why I believe the PEC will be even free if it does not participate at the national conference, but branches of the ANC will be there. And they will participate because the KwaZulu-Natal delegation is not solely the provincial executive committee. The 90% of the conference is composed by branches, come direct from branches of the ANC. And therefore, 90% of in fact, the whole membership of the ANC will be represented through their own delegates.
Okay. I have two more questions I would like you to answer, and I've got 2 minutes to the news, so they've got to be quite quick. First question that I need to ask you, what happens if you have confirmed you're approaching the SCA? Did you confirm that? You have confirmed that? You are approaching the SCA?
Well, we will have to process that in agreement with the national leadership of the ANC.
So you're still processing that.
And therefore, we will be consulting the leadership of the ANC on
what happens if they uphold? And if they uphold the ruling? You immediately step down.
Hello?
If they uphold the ruling, the SCA?
No, if they uphold the decision of the court, the ANC will have to go to the provincial conference, which I've already said that we don't have a problem of doing. If the national leadership will even say to us, go to the provincial conference now, we will be happy to do that. But the decision of the court must not set a precedent that will affect other structures in future.
Okay, and my final question to you, and one that many viewers are wanting to hear, and I suppose myself as well. What is going to happen with the disciplinary against Makhosi Khoza? Is it still going to go ahead, even though this PEC is supposedly been nullified?
No, the PEC, in consultation with the national, is appealing, has taken a decision that the matter will be, the status of the PEC will remain because we are lodging the appeal. And therefore, if it's so, then the disciplinary process will continue as such, and there is nothing that has to do with the court on this matter. The DC, it's a DC, it's conducted by the disciplinary committee, and therefore it will have to proceed.
So it still stands against Makhosi Khoza. This ruling has absolutely no effect on the DC against her.
No. It has no bearing to the disciplinary hearing of Comrade Makhosi Khoza, and that will continue as said.
All right, we leave it there for this morning. Thank you very, very much for talking to us here on the program. That was the ANC KwaZulu-Natal chairperson. That's Sihle Zikalala talking to us about yesterday's High Court ruling in Pietermaritzburg, saying that the results of the 8th provincial elective conference in KZN held in 2015 were unlawful and invalid.